Okay, episode 2. So I'm Rosie and I'm joined by Josie and Colin from Hydropac. Obviously, our podcast's a little bit about innovation, creativity between different businesses, entities, charities. So we wanted to talk to you today about your journey, Hydropac's journey, what sort of differentiates you, and anything interesting really that we can come up with from an innovative and a creative perspective. So starting with you and Hydropac, what drew you towards working with Hydropac in the beginning?
Good question. I suppose my journey with Hydropac started in 2016, and I joined Hydropac as the managing director at that point, having worked in another cold chain business from startup to 2010 to 2016. So my journey began there, and the opportunity to take what was then a relatively failing business and put my own spin on it was what attracted me to it. So having been in that industry and kind of been a manager in various creative sectors, from cardboard to cold chain, and to then managing it myself and turning a relatively small company at that point that had been in business for about 15 years into something with my own spin on it. Who wouldn't jump at that opportunity?
Of course, yeah.
So I did.
Nice.
And that's where it started, really. And it's never really left me. So in 2016, joining Hydropac, a company that was predominantly in the retail sector, producing kiddies ice packs for their lunch boxes, wine wraps, and also starting into the online food delivery sector. So that's really where that journey began. And it's what could I add to that, really? So, but what was fascinating about Hydropac is that they had machinery that nobody else had. They could do things and make an ice pack that nobody else can make. And that hasn't changed to this day. And the exciting thing about that is that that still gives us our major differentiator. So we can make an ice pack that's a standard ice pocket, or we can make a mat, or we can make multiple pockets for different purposes. So that's still our major differentiator. So that's what excited me about Hydropac, and that's what we can do, playing different tunes, if you like, with ice packs and the amount we can make in any one time. So that's what's exciting. The biggest differentiator about Hydropac is that we are exactly what's in our name. We are Hydropac. We are a water pack. And we've never lost that originality. We've had to diversify a little bit and make gel packs. But what we really want to be doing is making a water pack.
And Hydropac's made its name by doing things differently in that respect, especially in terms of cold chain packaging as well. When did you first spot that need to break away from business as usual compared to what you were doing previously when you first joined the company, in terms of like the kiddies ice packs and things like that? Was there a specific point you noticed the turning point in a different market or a different sector?
Yeah, well, the growth really of the online sector was what really dictated that. And the retail sector is very, as you will probably know, the retail sector is very hard and very aggressive with its price and its margin. And of course, cheap imports coming through
That
made our
surprises me,
product.
actually.
Sorry?
That surprises me.
Cheap products coming through from other places kind of made that harder and harder to compete. But the growth sector was the online food delivery market. And so, to do things differently to how we always done it, the machines weren't really set up to do these big 1 kilo or 500 gram ice packs. But what one of the previous owners and the engineer of our machines did, a gentleman by the name of Dave Baverstock, is he created this machinery that could make multiple ice packs, ice mats. And as I said earlier, that's still the differentiator today, is that we can do things differently that a typical form, fill and seal machine cannot do. However hard it tried, it can't produce what we can do. And, I suppose we'll talk about later on, why the need for those different products are. But that's our major differentiator and our selling point, if you like, is that we can adapt an ice pack to suit your needs. Yeah. And it's not just a one-trick pony.
Yeah, that sort of leads on nicely to the next question, actually. So in terms of being known for being the pure water ice pack provider, for anybody not in the industry, can you explain why that's significant?
Water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it's nature's finest. It's given us an ingredient that we can use without the need to provide other chemicals in our packaging, which is essentially a gel pack or a gloop pack, as I like to call it. Nature has given us, not unlike Walkall, nature has given us an ingredient that we can use, and water just so happens to be the pound for pound best thermal battery you can buy, that money can buy. And so why change it? We talk about innovation and the need to innovate. We don't need to with a water ice pack. The only innovation comes from the materials that harvests it now, really. The ice pack itself has the nature's purest form of thermal energy storage that money can buy. And that's as simple as that. There is nothing else you can do to water to make it harvest its energy any better. It's got the highest energy rating you can have, and to get all geeky and technical, it can hold its latent energy is 334 kilojoules per kilo. So the amount, if you liken that to a kilo of energy, so you switch your light on and it's consuming energy, an ice pack has 334 kilojoules. So unlike a unit of energy, it expends it in different ways and it gives it off in different ways. You can't change it. It is what it is. It doesn't overperform. It doesn't underperform. It is a unit of energy, and it's the best form that money can buy. And it's just so happened that nature provided us with it. So the need to innovate that part is not really a necessity. The need to innovate its encapsulation is where we really need to focus our attention.
And I think to your point around, and we're big believers in this too, which I think is why we've always worked really well together, is that thing of something's already there that you can use. The status quo is something else. And taking the materials you've got and creating something else. And I think what you guys have done really well is create a product that is quite simple. I mean, we always get levelled at us, it's just wool in a bag. And I'm sure you get it's just water in a bag.
Yeah.
But that's not the point. The materials might be simple and they might be there, but it's the innovation, one, to get the idea into the format you need, but then also to develop it and offer what the customer actually needs. And I think that's a whole other element of innovation and creativity that's required. And something that, as you say, your range is massive. So, you know, from a listener's point of view, just explain the different types of packs, because obviously someone listening to this might be like, what is a ice pack, and what's it used for?
Yeah.
So do you want to just delve into a little bit, what is an ice pack used for and the different packs that you provide?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I always try and use the sort of layman's analogy of what an ice pack actually is. And the simplest form of analogy I can think of is imagine buying a load of food, putting it in your fridge, but then not switching the fridge on. So the ice pack is electricity that fuels your fridge. So for all the online consumers that have their food delivered, and it comes in a lovely Walkall insulated container, and then it's got one of our ice packs in it, what's keeping it powered is the ice. So you need the ice to do its job and to keep your food cool. The ice essentially, again to get slightly geeky, is absorbing the excess heat outside of 2 to 8 in that box. It's absorbing it and it's transferring its cold energy to the box. So it's essentially, the simplest analogy is buying a fridge but not switching the refrigerator on again. It's electricity. And why we create different sizes of ice packs and different types, i.e. sheets and mats rather than a block, is that they all do their job slightly differently. And an ice block, let's say a 500 gram ice block, will provide you a unit of energy. And if you've got a great big box, putting an ice block in, where do you put it? It's a little bit like putting an air conditioning in a room. Where's the best place to put that air conditioning unit that you're going to get maximum efficiency out of that ice pack? So ice pack positioning is absolutely crucial. What's also crucial is the insulation and making sure it's good enough to house that energy that it's expending. So that's quite key. So we make different ice packs to take away some of that ambiguity about where to put an ice pack. So we'll make a mat potentially that will cover the footprint or cover the base or cover the top, so that there is no ambiguity of where's the best place to place something. We just blanket cover something. So that's why they're all different shapes and sizes, suited and tailored to individual customer needs.
And in terms of, say, the types of markets you're in, what are the markets? So you'll have different products for different markets, but what are your main markets that you will be kind of producing and selling into now? What's your
So
mix?
food has always predominantly been the market that Hydropac operated in, and then the online pet food industry started to grow quite significantly, and that became a big market for us. And kind of fringe pharmaceutical was that's come online a lot more, and certainly the weight loss drug has fueled that over the last year and a half. So, but the food is still predominantly our bread and butter, is where we operate and in the sectors. But we are starting to operate more and more in the pharmaceutical sector because, of water being a phase change material, it has other methods and applications suitable for it. And it's not just in providing cold air to food. It can do that with pharmaceuticals, and it can do that with a whole host of other applications because it is a phase change material. It's a PCM. And so there's some more exciting things coming along that we can harvest that energy as well.
Am I getting exclusive by the sounds of it?
I think this comes a little bit from my background and what I've done post Hydropac, and that's what I want to bring back to Hydropac this time around. So I've had this sort of 3.5 year break from Hydropac where I've gone away, done a few other things, and most notably worked with a fascinating gentleman, which I think you know, a guy called Zafar Yuri, that works for a company called PCM. And he taught me a lot. And I owe him a lot because he opened my eyes to phase change materials and what you can do with phase change. And so I give a shout out to him because I thank him because he really did turn my head to what we can do with this, not just this natural ingredient, but other phase change materials. And that got me thinking about what we could do with Hydropac and where we could go in the future.
Do you want to just, for the purpose of listeners again, in terms of, if I'm obviously familiar with phase change given the sector we're in,
Yeah.
can you just give it the explanation of kind of phase change and what that means for someone who might not know what kind of a phase change material is?
Yeah, so a phase change material is anything that changes it, that shape shifts, basically. So it can change its shape from a solid to a liquid or liquid to a gas to a liquid. So phase change just simply means it changes from one entity to another, whether that's gas to a liquid, liquid to gas, solid to a gas, water. So ice is a phase change material because it can change from a liquid to solid and a solid to a liquid. And so and there are a host of other applications you can utilize that, because while it's shifting its shape, it's harvesting energy. And so water, if we keep it simple and apply that to water, you have to throw a lot of energy at water to get it to freeze down. And what it's actually doing is harvesting that energy, it's storing it. It's a thermal energy device. It's storing that energy and it's changing its shape into a solid. And at that point, it's now harvested all of that warmth energy, and it's ready to apply it to its next phase, which will be to melt again. But in that process, it's storing, it's harvesting, it's charging, and it's discharging its energy. And so, quite simply, if we just use water, that's the easiest way of describing what a phase change material is. It's the harvesting of energy and it changing its shape.
I think what's always blows my mind about phase change materials, because we've done a bit of work on them, as you know, and it's getting your head around the fact that other things can be solid or frozen
at different
temperatures. So like wax is a great example, isn't it? So wax really is a phase change material as well. So when your candle melts, when the flames on it, there's a phase change material, but you don't see it as freezing.
No.
Whereas the ice pack's obviously freezing.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that when we first started looking at phase change, that used to blow my mind. This fact that the change, that you always think water, zero, like there's freezing, but
It's that
Definitely.
analogy of freezing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
freezing we associate with ice cold.
Yeah.
It's a big
But
thing that comes
actually-
up as well when we talk about shipping ice cream, things like that.
Yeah.
Is because ice cream has the lower melting point. You're sort of talking at -15 instead of 0.
Yeah.
So while water would be frozen, this is something that's not. It's melting below that.
Yeah, and we get it. Well, shared knowledge here, but we get it, don't we? Where you might be working with a customer who's working with frozen goods, and you might say, "What temperature do you want it to arrive at?" And they'll say frozen.
Yeah.
Now, frozen to phase change, or anyone who's kind of, there's different products that are different temperatures, and you understand freezing points and things like that. Is 0 is technically frozen,
Yeah.
but then you might have something like some of your other range which go freeze at, say, a -18, -21, -25.
Yeah.
And it's then when you're then speaking to a customer who's never come across that before, it's how you then creatively, but in like an education way, try to tell that story.
Yeah.
So you've got a couple, haven't you? A couple of products in your range that are lower lower freezing point
Yeah,
than
that's right.
0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That again is another myth that we need to bust through because, horses for courses, I suppose. There are different ice packs for different applications. And that's something that seems to have got misconstrued around our industry is that you can just use an ice pack. Why? Because an ice pack will freeze and it stays at -18 until you need it. And then, of course, it very quickly goes back to 0 and that's its happy place. So a normal ice pack, a water ice pack or a gel ice pack, its happy place is 0. And so that's the temperature it's going to give off and emit. So for frozen food, that's just completely incompatible. So yeah, you're right. We created a few other products, some more suitable now to today's market because they allow them to freeze at a more industrial or home type setting, and others slightly colder, perhaps more for the pharmaceutical market where they've got freezers that will either blast or go lower than that. So yeah, you're right. We've created HydroFreeze, Easy Freeze, and HydroFreeze Plus.
All the freezers.
Sorry?
All the freezers.
All the freezes. Yeah, absolutely. We're original in our naming of these products as well. But HydroFreeze and HydroFreeze Plus were the originals.
Yeah.
So it was a kind of -12, -21 format. But you realise in both of these formats, whilst you're trying to remain competitive and keep them cost effective, that sometimes the freezing of these products are not always suitable for your client base. So HydroFreeze is quite volatile. It's just a salt-based component, and it can freeze anywhere from -12 to -21. So if you've got a -18 freezer, it might not freeze. Whereas HydroFreeze Plus is intended to freeze at around -21, -22. You have to take it past its phase change point to get it to freeze. So it's a bit like us. I can feel I get colder perhaps quicker than the next person, but it will take me to go well past my freezing point before I put a coat on. And it's no different really. Analogy for ice packs, you've got to take it way past its phase change point. So HydroFreeze and HydroFreeze Plus, really you need to freeze them down at some -25.
Yeah.
And that wasn't always suitable in today's market. So whereas yes, it holds your products at -20. We didn't always have that equipment that would take it to the point of freezing. So we created Easy Freeze. Yeah. And that has just exploded because it's more suitable to the home freezer, to the industrial freezers that are kind of -18, -20. And it is a salty sodium mix of sorts. It's non-toxic, but it just holds the temperature around -16 degrees for longer than the others at -20. So, and we also are now coming into an era where the frozen industry is talking about lowering their freezing temperatures from -18 to -15. This is perfect. Easy Freeze is perfect. So I think we've shown now that Easy Freeze is really the go-to product for the frozen industry.
Yeah, and I think that, going back to the point around creativity and innovation, and obviously from you guys moving from ice packs for retail through to water packs for commercial or business to business, there's another innovation there, isn't there? More creativity. So when you are creating new products and things like that, are you looking at trends, or are you kind of coming up with a product and then going to the market with it, or and kind of from an R&D perspective, is you put quite a lot of focus on that kind of thing? I know the answer to this, so I'm asking you something because preempting it. But talk to us a little bit about your R&D and that kind of setup.
There was when I was last at Hydropac, there was a lot of emphasis on R&D and creating innovation. I mean, ultimately, as you know yourselves, if you don't innovate, you stand still, and your competitors come flooding past you. So we put a lot of emphasis on R&D, and of course, you create the next evolutionary product because you're listening, and because you're giving customers what they want. So you kind of go through that evolutionary path as well as your own R&D about what the next best thing could be. So, but I left Hydropac in 2021. Sadly, the R&D engineer left, and they didn't really innovate during that time. And I could watching brief on Hydropac all of that time while I was doing other things. And so the first thing I did when I came back was introduce an R&D engineer and a scientist at that. And what we've done now is taken some of my ideas, some of their ideas, and just accelerated forward about what we can do with phase change, almost holding back the R&D engineer while we get ourselves ready to be able to produce what he's coming up with. So that the process is really listening to your clients, seeing what's needed, because it's not always just a purpose. Of course, there's cost impacts as well. The food industry typically want a lower cost product. And so that then drives and steers innovation in that direction also for us. So a number of ways that we steer innovation. And of course, now we're in a slightly different era where we're now starting to think about the other side of phase change, the positive side of phase change for pharmaceuticals, but also industry, building applications, energy conservation.
How difficult do you find it innovating based on a price point? I'm going rogue on the question, sorry.
No, yes, okay. I don't find that difficult at all because we are working with the Earth's cheapest substance, which is water.
Yeah.
And so I don't find that difficult at all. And if you want water pack to last longer, you can do different things with it. So you can extend its duration by protecting it. So I think in the regard to food, not a problem. And in regard to frozen food, not an issue. And we've seen frozen food starting to become more acceptable on online food deliveries because the need to eradicate dry ice from the world, if you like, for many different reasons. We now have a solution for that, and we can make it more accessible to the home user or the home purchaser, if you like, direct to consumer. So I find those relatively easy. I don't think they're a big. They are innovative. I've got to say that because they're our product, but I don't see that being the next challenge.
Yeah.
You know, I think they're simple. The challenge that came out last year about industrial freezers wanting to switch off -18 and go to -15, I think is the right choice, because what it meant was Hydrofreeze and Hydrofreeze Plus then are not freezable. They can't be frozen at those sorts of temperatures. So we've now just innovated a new ice pack that will freeze at -15 and hold it around -15, -12, that kind of area. So we're ready when legislation comes through that says you now must turn your freezers down to -15 and that's become acceptable. We are ready for that. But for now, until that becomes legislation or a directive, then the world isn't calling for it right now. But we are led. So we've looked forward, we've seen what's coming through, and we've got ourselves ready for it. But it's not required right now, so people won't do what's not required of them right now. They'll keep on using the old products.
And I guess looking at Rosie, because obviously we talk about this all the time, don't we, around sustainability. The other challenge around, you have price point, you have performance. The other challenge nowadays, and both companies I think are up for the challenge, and something that we actually proactively sell on, is around sustainability and how you develop and consider sustainability within your R&D. So how much of your time and focus goes on sustainable R&D or considering sustainability within your R&D or innovations that are coming through?
Yeah, heavily. And certainly in this last 18 months since I've been back, we've focused on it enormously. And not only because we've been fighting corners and fighting fires, but also because we wanted to make sure there was a positive message about what we're doing. Competition is fair game. We like competition because it helps innovation. But from our perspective, we wanted to fight the corner for water packs because there are so many of our competitors that will only produce a gel pack. So, innovation standing still for a moment and fighting your corner about what you're currently offering and why you're offering it and why the competition don't offer it. They're things I've wanted to fight our corner on a little bit in this last 18 months. And so we've made a big message about, or our messaging has been around the carbon footprint of what we produce, and then therefore the competitors' carbon footprint. So, so we can talk about the gel and the ingredient itself, or we can talk about the production of that product. And so what I will say is that a pallet of water ice packs and a pallet of gel ice packs, you've got a 40% CO2 creation in a pallet of gel ice packs. So the carbon footprint is much, much higher for creating a pallet of gel packs. And so we try to get that messaging out because people do listen to the CO2 creation and what it's taken. And most of that is in the ingredient of the gel itself, the sodium polyacrylate or the carboma in there. We've tried to talk about that a little bit and said, look, for every pallet of gel packs you buy, you need to plant 3/4 of a tree to offset that CO2. But actually, I think it's probably slightly misconstrued. It doesn't sound like a lot for every pallet, but of course, what we've not told people, that's a fully grown tree.
Yeah.
Nobody plants fully grown trees, so well, why would you? And it's pointless, and you can't do it. So the real story is, for every pallet of gel packs, you need to plant 100 to 120 saplings. So you need to plant 100, 120 trees to offset that CO2 you've created in that year.
Just for the gel pack?
Just for the one pallet of gel packs.
Wow.
And so trying to get this message out that why use this product when there is a nature's finest on your doorstep? You don't need to innovate anything. You've got it right here. And so the other story was that, well, gel packs, don't leave a mess if they were to leak. Well, first and foremost, don't create an ice pack that will leak. That's the first thing we do. We create a really strong, structured ice pack. And secondly, I'd rather have a watery mess in my box than a gloopy synthetic polymer mess in my box if and when they do leak. So the messaging has been about performance. There's been performance talks about gel being better than water. And I'm the first to say water isn't better than gel. It isn't. Gel isn't better than water either. They do have their usage, and I would be the first to say that gel has its use. But I'm not going to sit here and lie and say water is better than gel, but certainly gel is not better than water. And so from a food application point of view, if you're a food customer, why are you using a gel pack when a water pack is every bit as good, if not better, than a gel pack? And that's really what I want to get across, and then to point out the CO2 and the carbon footprint savings as well.
Yeah, and it comes down, doesn't it, to like an education piece in a way. Because, similar to you guys, we obviously are selling a product that is a natural material, but there's quite a lot of education piece around, wool and the materials that we use versus other materials. And sometimes it's just that people have either heard something different that maybe has been said previously, or they're not aware. And I think sometimes it's perception. Sometimes it's maybe they've trialed something, and it, for whatever reason, that trial, it's done slightly better. So, gel versus water, or water versus gel. But I do think that the challenge is how you then dissipate that message to people in a way that then they buy into. And I think that's the thing with innovation. Any innovation or creative thinking is, once you've created something, and particularly around sustainability as well, how do you then tell that story? How do you get that message out to people in a way that they will engage with?
Yeah.
in a world where there's so much we can be engaging with. So from your point of view, how are you engaging with your customers on those kind of things? Is it kind of social media? Is it a mixture? Is it kind of face-to-face meetings?
Yeah, you're right, and it is about getting that message out to people. How do you do that? And I think, if anyone's got the actual formula for that, great. Let's have a chat about what's the best way to do
They will
it.
be a billionaire, I think. If they
Yeah,
had.
we really would. So I've probably got some self-educating to go on here as well. But the way we're doing it currently is, yes, you're right, a mixture of both social media, email marketing. We are face-to-face with our customers more than we ever have been before. We've got a customer service manager that's been in business 16 years now, customer-facing. That's been really very well received. And also trying to get the message out to customers. This is a great platform. Social media is a great platform. Email marketing are great, but the open rate is slow. So there is no better way to do that than getting face to face and talking to people, in my opinion. And again, we're coming back to expelling the myths of why then gel is so prevalent in this industry. If I may just sort of touch on that, because as I said, I'm the biggest advocate. I won't tell you something that's not true. Water is not better than gel. Gel's not better than water, but that is the message that's being put out by many of our competitors. And I have to continually defend that by saying it's not better. It's as good.
Equal to. Because it's worth saying, isn't it? Gel's water-based.
Gel is 95% water-based.
Yes, so the point is, actually, it can't be that much better. It can't be better because you've got water to water in one, water in the other.
Yeah, spot on. And you make a really good point. So why do they use it? And this comes back to the earlier point we just made about one of the founders of Hydropac, and who machinery we still produce today, and just evolutionary versions of that. And there's a reason for it, and that is because a typical form, fill, and seal machine does not like water. It likes gloop, and it likes gloop because of its sealing mechanism. It's always on sealing mechanism, or it's the impulse sealer for vertical form, fill, and seal. So it can't heat up quick enough to seal any residues of water that's come through it. But the gel just forms a nice big gloop, and it can seal it nicely. Our machinery can seal through liquid and push through liquid because of the way it seals and then cools and chills. So a typical form, fill, and seal machine today, although they are evolving and they are catching up, doesn't really like water. So the older versions, most of our competitors have got, probably 90% of our competitors have got, can't do it. And so if you can't do something, what do you push? You push the rhetoric that gel is better than water. And that's just simply not true. And water isn't better than gel, as I keep saying. But sell it for what it is. You're having to produce it for that reason, and not for the gain of the customer.
Yeah, and I think it's always when you're telling a message, and obviously in an industry it's quite quick moving. It's getting that say above the noise, but I think face to face, as you say, is a way to do that. But then also with some of the kind of, we struggle with it. If there is a demand for a certain product or a certain way of doing a product or whatever, then it's how you get the message across to that customer. Do you sell the product? Do you offer something different? How do you change the hearts and minds of someone away from maybe what they might think is because of what they've been told? And I think that's always a battle. And I think it's one that I think it's particularly in this industry, in the packaging industries, it is a challenge.
There's almost an industry standard, isn't there? And then that's the way it is because that's the way it's always been, and there's nothing more behind it than that. I think we come up with again similar with polystyrene boxes and things like that in the past, in terms of that's just the way it was, so that must be the best option, because why wasn't there something before now if this isn't any better?
Was it you who had a conversation with someone on the phone who said, why so many people, if everyone's using poly boxes, they can't be wrong?
Yeah, I remember that.
So I'll let you tell a story.
So it was just a customer who was asking questions. We used to have that quite a lot, probably going back 10 years now, when it's sort of something that's fairly new to the market. Wool isn't a new material, but people would see it as a new material in terms of packaging. So we had a lot in terms of people questioning the integrity of it, or would it work, would it perform, that sort of thing. And yeah, it was, as it said, it was somebody who just said, well, everybody else is using polystyrene, so therefore that must be the best option. People wouldn't be using it if it didn't work as well. And you get that questioning of the data, of the science, but you've got that information to back it up, but people seem to really resist.
Yeah. It's like we don't see sheep in the field where they're naturally growing polystyrene around them, do we? You know, that's their protector. You know, nature's provided a protector naturally. You've had to create polystyrene, but you're right. There is this. You are fighting against that all of the time, and the thing that I admire about Woolcore is it's held true to its value for how many years now, and that's the message. For me, I kind of always looked on afar and admired that integrity about not just saying, "Do you know what, we'll sell another product just to do that," and we've fought that a lot over the years as well. And so the detractors might also say then, well, you sell gel packs as well. You're right, we do, and we do sell gel packs, but we kind of deliberately don't make them as gloopy as the competition, because it is a synthetic polymer, and we don't want to produce that product with a thick, gloopy dose of synthetic polymer in there to make it absorb water. So we don't want to do it. So although we've 35% of our business is gel packs, we deliberately manufacture it so to probably half the strength of the competitors, and we've done that deliberately. So we don't want to make a really thick, gloopy gel pack, and we want to push the rhetoric more towards water and hold true to our values. And that's what I've admired about you guys. You've not given in to that, and you've just created more and more products and applications for your products. So kudos to.
Would you say that working with companies like Woolcore and collaborating with them in that sense has helped to push your innovation forwards as well?
Without a doubt. Absolutely, without a doubt. And we're also very, from Hydropac's perspective, we're very cautious about who we partner with, and I know you are as well.
Yeah.
Right? This conversation has taken many years to happen, right? So we've both been naturally defensive of our positions, but we've talked about this before. Nature's Finest, it was the most natural partnership that was probably going to happen because we both have natural ingredients. Just took a while to get there. But yeah, you're right. We will only partner with certain industry leaders, and there's only really one or two we partner with. We don't want to push our products into packaging distributors and packaging merchants who are not going to sell your product with the right values attached to them. So and that's held firm as far as I'm there. There's plenty that I'm sure, like yourselves, will ask, "Can we sell your product?" And we just don't want to do that because we don't want to missell our own product. We'd rather do that ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I think just to touch upon that relationship thing, I think it goes way back, doesn't it? I think when I even started at Woolcore, we'd had a meeting, and I think there is that thing when you've got a product that is in an innovation in the sector that is quite difficult for the people to do, but there are always people who want to come through and it's flattery, isn't it? Invitation is the highest form of flattery.
Yeah.
And then you're also very conscious about your brand. You're very conscious about your reputation, and you don't want to be missold. I think that's the term. So I think in the early days, definitely that concern and that like overprotectiveness, I think it is. We've always had it, but we're exactly the same in the sense that you want your product to be sold right. You want your brand to be represented in the right way. And you want to be partnering with those people that if I think you said it, I said it, I'm not going to claim is if it's not Woolcore and Hydropac in the box, it's a bit like Intel Inside, isn't it? If it's not that, and because it's two companies that kind of doing things similar, promoting for similar reasons, and but I think collaboration, to Rosie's question, I think it is really. I mean, it's same as you guys, you partnering with us has allowed us to open up other parts of our reach as well. Yeah. And I think that collaboration is absolutely key. But I think the thing with collaborating as an innovation is the risk that comes with it. And from the conversations we've had is I've always been quite adverse to that risk. Yeah. And as have you guys, I mean, and then we've worked to build that trust. And I think once you've got that, you've got that relationship with someone,
Yeah.
then things like how you get your messaging out and you've got those shared values and you can show those two experts in the sector, that then becomes more powerful because the relationship's a bit more genuine than just, like there's some great packaging merchants out there, so I don't necessarily want to downplay them, but we are manufacturers, we are the experts in what we do, and we're partnering on that.
Yeah.
I think that has quite a lot of power, especially as two creative products, whether it's water in a bag or wool in a bag, those two things together.
Two creative products with, and I'll keep saying again, offering nature's natural ingredients. And you're right, on the collaborative side of things, it's the old saying of that relationships are easy to build, hard to build, but the easiest to break. And I think that's where we have kind of danced around each other for many years because we weren't quite sure. We're both very protective of our businesses, and we weren't quite sure whether it was the right move, but it's the most natural move on earth. We just got to show each other that it's the right partnership, and we've done that over the at least the last 18 months. That the collaboration will help us innovate, and as you quite rightly say, we've helped you, you've helped us, and we'll continue that hopefully for years to come. But I think also what I will just say is we touched on it earlier on about the Bunzl side of it. That doesn't change for me. For me, Hydropac is I will always see Hydropac as being my company, and so although we're part of a huge corporation now in Bunzl PLC, we are still at heart little Hydropac, who are essentially left alone and allowed to be who we are and to originate and to form our own partnerships and to operate as that. They're a very decentralized corporation, so they essentially buy businesses not to change them. They don't buy businesses that are failing; they buy businesses that are successful. And so it was for me as an outsider originally looking in, thinking that's a strange acquisition for Bunzl because we're a manufacturer. The Bunzl model is a distribution and warehousing, a stockist essentially. But I can see now where it fits and how it works. And they bought Hydropac because it was working. And we've got a sister company in the Netherlands called Colpac, and that works. Another manufacturer. The only two manufacturing companies in the hundreds of operating businesses are in Bunzl, and it works. And so they leave you alone, and they leave you alone to do what you do best. And I love that. And that was part of the appeal to coming back again, is that nothing needs to change. Just keep doing what you're doing and doing it well. And that's what we do. And so forming these partnerships, for me, was a natural thing. I think pretty much reached out within, certainly a month of coming back to Hydropac. And it was your phrase, by the way. If it's not Hydropac and it's not Wool,
was it? Okay, I'll take that.
But we'll both claim it. But you're right. The two most natural ingredients in the world don't come together and partner. It's criminal. And they are the best of nature's natural products. So why not bring them together? But you're right. We'll feed off you. You'll feed off us about what the market's doing, how we can work together, attach each other's brands to that positive message. And I think that will only help us in our innovation, as it's already doing. We're already partnering on lots of projects where it's having a positive impact.
So if I'm just kind of off the cuff a little bit, is from like an R&D point of view, innovation and that investment in that, because it does cost money to innovate, doesn't it? Sometimes you create something that's fantastic and you think, oh, actually, that's either too expensive, or that's not done what I thought it would do, or it doesn't have a market, whatever it is. Or so for every success, you have a few things that are fallen by the wayside, but there's a cost to that. So, going pre and post Bunzl, Hydropac, from when we were working previously, were always very forward thinking, and I can still see that now as nothing's really changed in terms of the functioning of the business. What about the investment in things like R&D? Is there more kind of encouragement and energy from Bunzl to get you to be doing those things, or is it just it's kind of the same kind of level? The reason I ask that is because I think traditionally you think of big business, as in like the big corporate world, it's been quite slow to move. But then you do have some really big businesses, Dyson, people like that are always innovating. So do you find that Bunzl are quite supportive of any innovation in that investment? Or do you find that they're kind of just keep doing what you're currently doing?
No, for sure. Certainly, if you've got a really good idea, and that's the one difference from being privately owned to corporate owned, is that they, as is right, they will want you to show what it is you're going to do, what you're thinking, put it on paper, cost it, show me it. And
Business
so,
plan.
yeah, absolutely, it's not.
Yeah.
But the good news behind that, as being part of Bunzl, is they're not shying, saying, "Go for it."
Mm.
That's something that has changed. You've got a great idea, you've shown there's a need for it in the market, absolutely go for it, and you can spend that money on that particular R&D project. So that's a real positive, and that is what's enabled us to bring back an R&D scientist into our laboratory and to start innovating. You're right, that costs money.
Yeah.
And I've always said, and I'm sure you'll agree, that any new innovation, you've got a year to 2 years maximum out of that innovation. And we've done that for at least 10 years. We've innovated something, but we're already working on the next one because we know it's going to get copied, and it's then your competitor's going to copy it, claim it as their own, and off you go. But we've already worked on the next thing.
Yeah.
And, lo and behold, they'll get copied as well. So you've got to keep innovating. And it's quite a message about standing on the shoulders of giants. I don't think we're a giant, but actually, you said it earlier. Copying something is the biggest form of flattery, and I take flattery from the fact that our competitors, pretty much every product we've ever innovated has been copied in some shape or form. And rather than getting angry about it, I'm just thinking, great, we've already moved on anyway. We knew we had a life cycle out of that, and we've moved on. And the beauty of your products, you don't need to move on because it is what it says on the tin. You've just found new applications for it and slightly changed it. And that's what we want to do with water and other phase change materials for different sectors. We're already good at what we do. Just carry on doing it. But you're right, it does require innovation. It does require sign off to do that. But their biggest nod to me and the business was allowing me to bring in an R&D scientist and to invest in that laboratory and say, go for it. You're doing really good things. It's a great idea. Go for it.
Yeah, and I would say that's always been one of the things that has been shared with Hydropac is with my experience with you guys is that similar kind of mentality around, okay, we're willing to invest in that innovation. And as you say, it's a privately owned business. That's harder because it's finite. It's a bit finite. It was always finite with any business, isn't it? But it's a bit more finite, and you kind of have to be careful where you're spending your money. But I do think that, and that's one of the reasons for this podcast really is to highlight actually the benefits of innovation and creative thinking. I mean, we spoke before around that sometimes design, creative thinking, or things like because it's design, isn't it? Really,
yeah,
is seen as the lesser. And it's probably going to be a theme of every podcast now, isn't it? It's a lesser thing to be creative, when actually the only way that we've all survived as a companies is to be creative and to create new ideas, even if it's just a different shape of pack. Something that someone wouldn't know how many years went into that development. Yeah. It looks like it took a week, but actually that development took 6 months, 12 months, or whatever, and all the rest of it. It's driving that that businesses to be open to innovation, and because that's the way you stay alive. And I think you said about moving, if you're not moving forward, you're going backwards. I think that's so true.
That's right. And you just allow your competition to come past you, even with your own products. You just allow them to come through, and you've experienced that as well. And I think that's where it then comes from, the messaging. You are proud to be the originators and the innovators of that product, and that's the message really you've got to get out there. And we've done a sort of a series of that recently with this sort of giants portfolio, and you were included in that because you're the originators of what you did, and we think we were as well in all of the products that we've brought to market. And so it's crucial to actually hold on to that and say, look, we brought this to market, but we're not going to hold on to it. We're going to move on, and we're going to keep on innovating and show we're doing that. And I think that, and you will see from every one of our competitors, your product just surface a year or two down the line and be reclaimed. But I like that. I don't mind that, because if you're not moving on and we have new products coming through that we're really excited about, that we're working on, let them do what they want to do, and we'll just carry on in our space.
Do you also think, though, as a business, as well as your product, that the way you work with a company is quite different in the sector? And because I think, because the sector is quite fast moving, there are different types of companies. There's some great companies in the sector too. So this isn't a slight on anyone really, but there seems to be innovation isn't necessarily just about a product. It might be how a business conducts itself. So how does it engage? You go back to, you're spending more time on face-to-face meetings, which would nowadays probably be seen, why aren't you doing Teams meetings? But actually probably is an innovation nowadays to be back in front of people, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, to get up and down the country. No, I completely agree with that. I think Teams has their place, and I think they can shorten down the times of innovation sometimes by not having to wait weeks to go and see someone. But no, I think it's a really positive thing. I've always kind of said, and this maybe comes from my former years of working in packaging, that it helps to be a consultant or a consultative approach rather than just I've got a product by me. To have that consultative approach and that sort of value engineering mindset where I'm going to find you the best product rather than just sell you this. I think that really, really helps. And I've brought that through for the last 10 years in that, I enjoy going to see customers because for me, it's not a hard sell. It's how can I help you?
Yeah.
And that's why I enjoy going to see customers. It's seeing what they're doing. It's either right or it's wrong, or I've got suggestions that they might save them money or save them money in their practices. I love that. And I think that's part of the job I really enjoy, really miss being an MD is that I don't get to do that more often. But if I can impart that to my team now and take that forward, that's the way I want to approach the way we deal with customers. Not just a product sell, it's a consultative approach.
Kind of problem solving.
Yeah, problem solving.
A lot of creativity is just problem solving, isn't it, really? This is the problem, how do you solve it?
Yeah.
And you've got the people who go, you can't. And you've got the people who go, here are all the options that you could do.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably, again, shared values that will go.
I think
here's a list of 10 things that we could do. We can't do
that. On
that,
your point from earlier about the design aspect of it, doesn't it? Really, is that it's often seen as the lesser end of the business, but actually that's where all the creativity has come from. Is we've been trying to work out what's right for you. So we've gone away and we've thought about it, we've designed something new and come through with it.
Yeah.
And I think that again, we've all come from different sectors, but again, my sector of design in industrial packaging is trying to find the answer for someone, trying to design something, whether it's out of foam or cardboard or polyurethane foam, trying to find an answer for someone by designing a solution for them and then presenting it back. And that presenting it back was your hard sell to some degree, but I loved it.
Yeah.
And that's that design element that, as you quite rightly point out, is often overlooked, that is the fun part and is the creative part. And so if we can take that consultative approach into everything we both do and be honest and hold your values, then I think that comes through in passion or creativity or otherwise. I think that's worth far more than what others do in the market.
Yeah, I have to agree.
So looking forward, what are you most excited about over the next year or so? What's coming for Hydropac?
Well, I'm excited about, the team's changing at Hydropac. So we've got a new team, sort of the chess pieces, if you like, where we want them in terms of internally at Hydropac. I'm really, really excited about that. We've got new account manager, new commercial manager started. So that excites me, having people in the right places and a team that you can work with and is creative and all the things we just talked about. Great R&D engineer downstairs who's so forward thinking that sometimes I don't understand what he's trying to tell me and I can't take it on board because he's so technical and so creative that I have to well, let's go back to what does it do for me? What are you telling me? But he's so creative.
Can you be too creative? That's the question.
Yeah, well, I don't think you ever can be, but as long as it has the right application, the right motives and the right story, then I think it doesn't matter if you're a year ahead of us. It doesn't matter. And in some aspects, he will be a year ahead of us because we might not be able to manufacture it yet, but we will find a way to manufacture it. And I think that's what I'm excited about, is this next at least 12 months is developing the positive phase change for us and manufacturing it. Of course, they exist today, but it's usually a chemical manufacturer selling a chemical to another party to then produce it and encapsulate it. Well, we can do that ourselves. So that's exciting. And then that opens up the pharmaceutical market,
It's really exciting.
the genuine 2 to 8s, the control room, 15, 25 and upwards. That's a positive for us. I'm excited about that. Working with you guys, because you are now
Obviously very
producing
exciting.
and we are selling each other's products ultimately and promoting each other's products. So that's really exciting. And then, of course, the industries that it takes us in. So positive phase change takes us into a whole new market. And that's what I am excited. And that comes back to my shout out to Zaffa and take us into the building and the energy industry, because that is a growth sector without a shadow of a doubt. And the use of PCM and positive phase change in heating and cooling, storing energy for solar panels or boilers or whatever, that's an element that's really exciting to me. And I'm looking forward to the next, that's probably a couple of years away. But the pharma sector is certainly more open to us over the next year or so. So that's what I'm excited about.
We're sort of asking everybody something similar, really, in terms of what does innovation mean to you, or if you were to give somebody else some advice about being innovative, what would it be?
Good question. I think that there are no bad ideas, and I think that's what I try to impart into the team and also to the R&D engineer is if you think it has value, then work with it and present it. There are no bad ideas, and I think if there were, we wouldn't be where we are in life today, frankly, because most good ideas have come from bad ideas or seemingly bad ideas. So that's my message in innovation. Is just keep trying anything and see what works. And even if you don't think it's going to work, it's going to have value. Usually it does, but in another form or another shape.
Yeah.
So I think for me, innovation is about responsibility first and foremost. I think innovating responsibly, and that's the message I want to take forward, is that we are doing things for our future selves and our future families and the planet. And I want to keep working with the water concept because there is nothing better to work with. So nothing is a bad idea, nothing is off the table. I hate to use the word blue sky thinking, but no idea is a bad idea. Just put it on the table. There's no stupidity in our round table meetings. It's it either works, it doesn't work, or we'll either explore it or we won't explore it. And also that's why we like to collaborate with you, because you will think of things that we won't think of or thought of, and that's why our get-togethers are usually so constructive, because we share ideas. So partnerships are key.
Yeah, absolutely. Collaboration. Completely.
Well, I think that wraps up our conversation, but thank you so much for your time. Lots of insight, lots of genuine sort of thought-provoking things to think about as well, particularly for listeners who don't necessarily think that much into ice packs or where they come from or what they're for or what sort of thought process go into it. So thank you.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks for coming. It's been fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.